Hey friends, I'm Dr. Molly Brinkman. I'm a small animal veterinarian near Nashville, Tennessee, and this is a show for people who love their pets, they like to laugh, and they realize that life is hard, but dogs and cats help. I love veterinary medicine. I'm probably obsessed with your pet, and I think pet parents everywhere should know more about both. Welcome to the Dr. Molly Says podcast. Okay, we are cold. We're in the barn. If you didn't know, we film this show in my parents' barn. We're in the loft and it's cold outside, but Cooper and I are snuggled up. I have a blanket and there's a space heater under me. I forgot Cooper's woof today, his pupsicle. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know where you've been. You must not follow me on social media because I am obsessed with this company Woof. They have this pet toy. It's a dog toy, but it's a pupsicle. And it's like this. I'm really mad now that I don't have it, but it's this like firm rubber material and it's this half disc round thing. It screws together and they make these round pop treats that fit in it. You screw it back on and it has holes in it. And so your dog has to like get down in there to get all of the treat out. Let me just tell you, Cooper, for one, is obsessed with it, but I will like gift these to people. We got Woof to send them for Christmas for all of our staff at the clinic, and everybody's dog is obsessed with it, and it will keep him occupied for an hour. I meant to bring one so that he likes to bark at everything he hears outside. So if you hear him, he might leave the podcast. But yes, you need a Woof pupsicle if you don't have one. PSA. So yes, we are hanging out outside in the cold, but that's okay. I am ready for spring. I am over it. I love cold. I always get excited at the beginning of winter, but then I'm like over it. If I'm not somewhere snowboarding and there's not snow on the ground here, I'm ready for it to be over. So that's where I am. We're going to do hot takes. I have only one hot take. And this happened actually a little bit ago. So I'm a vet, you know that. And I spayed my mom's cat a while ago. And if the people in the vet world that are listening to this, they know, but it never fails that if you the phrase "no deed goes unpunished." If you're gonna like do something for your family or your friends as a vet, it's like never not complicated. So my mom has a cat, Jasmine girl is what my daughter calls her, and she needed to be spayed, and so I'm like, yeah, we need a spare. So I had a surgery day. Full day of surgeries, but my mom was like, can we spay the cat? So I was like, just bring her. It's fine. I'll do it at like 4 p.m. real quick. Because normally a cat spay takes me like 15, 20 minutes. So I'm like, yeah, it's fine. We'll just do it at the end of the day. Well, of course, this has never happened to me, but it happened with my mom's cat. I have been practicing for almost 10 years. Never happened to me. But something can happen during a spay. A spay is a really big deal. We're in the abdomen. We're taking out ovaries. There are vessels that connect the ovary like down into the body, the kidneys. And that's one of the things that we have to clamp off and ligate. So put suture around to keep it from bleeding once we cut the ovary out, right? And so sometimes something that happens is you put a ligature around those vessels and you tie it, you do everything you're supposed to do, but for whatever reason, the actual suture tie can slip off of the vessels. So I'm spaying my mom's cat. And mind you, this is a small cat, so the vessels that I'm tying around are teeny tiny. I put the suture on, tie it, whatever, and I cut the ovary out, and I go to release the ligature down into the abdomen. That's what stays in the pet. And the vessels went away, but the ligature suture stayed with my clamp. And I was like, oh, great. I just dropped my mom's cat's pedicle is what we call it. And so that means that those vessels can bleed freely. They're not tied off. And so I ended up having to open her little abdomen. Like normally the spay incision would be like that big. And so then it was like that big. So we had to open her all the way up, go down in there, find the vessel that was bleeding because it was definitely bleeding. It's like down close to the kidney. So the no big deal 15-minute spay ended up taking 45 minutes at the end of the day. I think my techs wanted to kill me. But it just goes to show no spay is routine. And I think sometimes people don't really understand what all goes into actually spaying a dog or a cat. It's a big deal. We are in the abdomen and doing very important things that definitely can be messed up. And so, yeah, no spay is routine. And that, of course, would happen for the first time at 4 p.m. with my mom's cat. So that's my hot take. No spay or surgery, for that matter, is routine. Okay, that's all I have for you today. We are going to move on to the Twilight Bark. And this is the meat and potatoes of the show. And I thought for this episode, we would just take a little while, and I want to just tell you about my career path so far. I think it's something that people would like to know about, because sometimes people don't fully understand how people become veterinarians, what's the educational process, what's it like, and I have done a few different things. So just thought I would share with you all how I've gotten to where I am now as a vet. So let me tell you, I have always wanted to be a veterinarian. My parents said from the time I knew what it meant to pick a job, that's what I said I wanted to do. I was one of those kids that had this connection with animals as a kid. I grew up, here, the barn I'm in right now is on my parents' property, which is where I grew up. They've never left. And it's in a somewhat rural area. It's becoming less and less so. But my grandparents had a cattle farm just 20 minutes down the road while I was growing up. And so I grew up around a lot of animals. We were there all the time. We always had dogs and cats here at my parents' property. I also grew up riding horses, so I was around horses my whole childhood. And so I was always around animals, always had a connection with them, always wanted to take care of them. As I got a little bit older, through high school and college, I still wanted to be a vet. But when I applied to vet school, so to go to veterinary school, in most situations, in the U.S. at least, you go to undergrad. You don't necessarily this is a fun fact, you don't actually have to have a bachelor's degree to go. I don't know if it's every vet school, but most vet schools do not require any type of degree. You just have prerequisites. So there's certain classes. It's a lot of classes, but you have to take XYZ classes, and that's what when you apply for vet school, you just have to have taken this long list of mostly science-based classes. And there's a bunch of calculations that go into vet school application processes. A lot of it has to do with your grades. Some subjective stuff that goes into it is your experience. So anyway, I applied. I did undergrad, full 4 years. I got a bachelor's in animal science. I went to the University of Tennessee, go Vols. And so I was animal science major. At UT, at least, in Knoxville, they have a whole agricultural campus, the Ag Campus. So there's several different degree programs that are within the Ag Campus. But it made undergrad feel smaller. So I was at this huge university, but I was on the Ag Campus. So a lot of my classes were not 400 people. Some of my classes were 12 people. And the further along I got in undergrad, the more sort of small and more actual practical subject base my classes became with animal science. So I loved doing undergrad that way. I got a lot of exposure to major animal health topics. I got to know some of the professors at the vet school at UT because they're involved in the Ag Campus in undergrad. So I definitely tell people, if they're asking me about their path to vet school, I highly recommend that. If you're going to get a bachelor's, if the school you're going to has an animal science program with a pre-vet track, I do think that's the way to go. So that's what I did. I applied to vet school my senior year of undergrad, and I did not get in, which I try to be very open with people about, because it's really hard to get in vet school. There's a lot more human medical schools than there are vet schools for now. And so I think I heard a stat the other day at Colorado State University. I think they have I don't know, what was it, Harrison? Did you hear her saying there's 4,000 people applied to vet school last year at Colorado State, and they have 100 spots. So it's just super competitive. I know why I didn't get in. I'll tell you why I didn't get in vet school the first time, because I got a D in organic chemistry too. And so I had to take it a second time, but that definitely messed me up. So that dinged my grades a little bit. I didn't think it was enough to keep me from getting in, but that's probably why. So I didn't get in the first time I applied. And so I did get waitlisted. So vet schools will do that. Like they have a list of who gets in, and then they'll have like the B team, which is the wait list. And so that's kind of a weird place to live if you apply to vet school, because you're on the wait list, which means at any point between when you find out you're waitlisted until the day school starts, if somebody decides not to come or they drop out in the first like month, I think, they can call you and be like, okay, you got in, come to vet school next week. That happened to a friend of mine. But so I was waitlisted, which I didn't get in from the waitlist, but I thought it was like the end of the world. I was devastated. I cried for days. It's all I ever wanted to do my whole life, and I didn't get in. I got rejected. So when I didn't get into vet school, I came home. I came back home from Knoxville. I live in Nashville, Middle Tennessee. I moved back in with my parents. My now husband, Ryan, we were just dating. He moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. So we were long distance. And I went to work at a small animal clinic, Beecham Animal Hospital, which is where I practice now. It's very funny, full circle. So I was a vet assistant there. I worked 40 hours a week in the vet clinic. I learned all kinds of stuff about small animal medicine. The doctors there were great. They taught me things. They let me get a lot of hands-on experience. I got to assist in a lot of surgeries. But I worked my booty off. I worked there full time all week. I waited tables at Carrabba's at night. I rode horses for people. I pet sat most nights for people. So I just worked a ton. I took online classes to help with my science grades, saved some money for school, and I got in the next year. So the cool thing, the reason I tell people about that is because I thought it was the end of the world when I didn't get in. Then when I got in the next year, my vet school class was amazing. Like I mean, everybody that was in vet school at the same time as me was great, but our class specifically just had really cool chemistry. It was a really great group of people, tons of really smart people. There's a bunch of veterinary specialists from my class in vet school, but I mean, some of my like best friends still are from my vet school class. And so after I got done with vet school, it was just such a like reflection that I thought it was the end of the world, but everything works out because I definitely needed to be in the class I was in. So vet school, most vet school programs are 4 years. And they're set up a little bit differently at each university. There's some schools that will do 2 years of what they call didactic education. So in the classroom, you're just taking classes, and then 2 years of clinical training. UT does about 3 years in the classroom, and then a little over a year and a half of clinical rotations. The number of vet schools in the U.S. is growing, and so there's a lot more private vet schools opening, which is a subject for a different podcast. But a lot of those newer vet schools don't have teaching hospitals on site. So like University of Tennessee, where I went, has a huge teaching hospital. So they have a fully functioning hospital, large animal and small animal. And so you go into clinical rotations and you're at the same place where you went to school. A lot of your professors are your clinical professors. And so there's some cohesiveness in that. But a lot of newer vet schools they don't have teaching hospitals. And so one model that a lot of them are adapting is they do all of the classroom didactic information at the vet school, and then their students go either to other universities or private practices to do their rotations. And so, 2 to 3 years usually of classroom work. Vet school curriculum is super rigorous. I definitely secret cried in my car and in the bathroom first year of vet school several times. It's just really tough. And especially at first, you're taking classes that are not as practical. So you're taking anatomy and physiology and virology and immunology, and some of those subjects, now it's oh, that was such important information. But at the time you're kind of I don't really understand the relevance of this. It's just really hard. But that's the baseline information in vet school. So you do that 2 or 3 years. tons of information. And then whenever you go to clinics in vet school, that's when you apply all of that information and knowledge on your rotations. And some schools do what they call tracking. So once you go into those clinical rotations, you basically declare, okay, I want to be a large animal vet, I want to be a small animal vet, and then a lot of them have mixed tracks. So that means your rotations focus on large animal medicine. So you're going to be on farm animal, equine medicine, those things. Or small animal, you're going to be on the small animal side of the clinic, or a mixture. And there's a lot of debate on what's better. You know, a lot of people decide where they want to go to vet school because of that. UT doesn't track, so I didn't track, which I'm actually very glad and grateful for now, because I love a lot of things and I enjoyed large and small animal medicine and rotations and clinics when I was in school. And when I started my career, I did both. So that is one benefit of not tracking. But I'm sure a lot of people who do track, you know, found that they got a lot more kind of concentrated information in what they wanted to do. The other thing about tracking, not tracking, this is my personal opinion, is that you just really don't know exactly what you want to do until you get out there as a vet and you're doing it. And there's just so many people, especially who want to do large animal medicine, who eventually switch and end up in small animal medicine. And so sometimes I feel like tracking maybe can be an issue with that, but it's to each their own. Everybody does a little bit differently. So yeah, so 4 years of vet school, any vet is going to have completed that full program. After you graduate from vet school, you can go straight into practice. So general practice, GP vets, we call it. A lot of those vets, they graduated from vet school, they went and got a job in a GP office, and they're a vet now. And GP vets do a lot of things. They perform a lot of surgeries from the get-go. They get surgical training in vet school and diagnose all the things and work up all the diseases. So I didn't go that route. When I graduated from vet school, I did an internship. And so vet students can, if they want to specialize, if a vet student wants to become a veterinary surgeon or an oncologist or radiologist or cardiologist, there's a lot of specialties, then most of those specialties to do require a residency. And before you do a residency, you have to do an internship for most of them, not all of them, but most. And so I actually, towards the end of my vet school career, decided I wanted to be a horse surgeon. That's what I was going to do. So I applied for equine internships, and I got one in Western Colorado. It's called Glenwood Veterinary Clinic. And at the time, it was a referral equine private hospital. There were 2 surgeons on staff, equine surgeons or large animal surgeons, and they only took 1 intern every year. So I got that internship. And so Ryan and I, at that time we were married. Oh yeah. So Ryan and I got married in vet school. So Ryan and I started dating in undergrad, and we dated for 6 years before we got married. And we got married between 2nd and 3rd year of vet school. So we were married. Ryan's a teacher, and which is nice because it means he can kind of go anywhere. And so we found out that I got picked for the internship, and we had 48 hours to decide if we were going to move to Colorado. So we did. We moved to Glenwood Springs, Colorado, which is in the Valley of Aspen. It's really ugly there. It is so beautiful. It's a really cool place. So we moved there, Glenwood Vet Clinic, and we lived in this tiny little house. We called it the Love Shack. It was I don't know, the size of this chair, but there was 2 rooms and a bathroom. And so we lived on site. The little house was on the clinic property. We were close enough to the equine barn, so the sick horse barn, that if there was where we slept, our bedroom had a window, and if there was a horse that was kicking or rolling around in the stall and making noise, I could literally hear it from my bed. So there are small animal internships and then equine internships. There's some other types of internships, but there's the most common. And when you're a veterinary intern, you're basically free labor. The pay is small and you work crazy hours. So like when I was intern at Glenwood, I was on call pretty much all the time. I think I had maybe like one weekend off a month. I don't know. I can't remember. It was a blur. And so you work all day, you're on call all night. If we did a lot of horse surgery. So colic surgeries, those always happen a lot of the time in the middle of the night. So it would be up at 2 a.m., scrubbed into a colic surgery, have to recover the horse. So a lot of times 2 a.m. surgery, you're not going to bed. 8 a.m. the next day, go to work all day, do it again the next night. So that's intern life. Internships are intense, but you get like multiple years of experience and information packed into 1 year. So yeah, I thought I wanted to be a horse surgeon. While I was doing my internship, I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do. Glenwood also has a small animal clinic. It did at the time. And I started to get into the small animal clinic a little bit, do some days there because, again, I had some experience in a small animal practice. And when I decided I didn't want to specialize, I didn't want to go through a residency, I realized how much I loved mixed animal medicine. I loved getting to see dogs and cats, do surgery on dogs and cats in that clinic, and then go out in the field and see horses on ranches and cows and sheep and all that. So I loved the mixed animal life. I loved getting to do all of that. And so I stayed at that practice for another year. I finished my internship. They hired me on as an associate vet. So we got to stay in Colorado for 2 years. We decided to come home to Tennessee after that second year. All of our family is here. We decided to come home because we wanted to start having kids. But we had the best time in Colorado, and I have so many like fun memories and stories practicing in Colorado. Some of them are very funny. We should have story time about all of that. So then we moved back to Tennessee. I did do mixed practice in Middle Tennessee for about a year after we came back. That job didn't really work out. And at the time, I had actually become pregnant. And so when I was looking for a new job, I got an offer for a small animal practice, and it just made a lot more sense. At the time, there was such a huge gap between income as a large or mixed animal vet and a small animal vet. And so that made it really enticing to switch to small animal just to help support our family. And there was no on-call. And so it was hard to turn that down. And so that's what I've been doing, small animal only, for the last 6 years, I guess it is. I guess almost 7 now. And I have practiced in a few different practices, all in Middle Tennessee. But 2 years ago, I came back to Beecham Animal Hospital, the practice where I worked in that year between undergrad and vet school. And I'm the medical director there now. And I work with some people that I worked with then, 17 years ago it is now. And so, yeah, it's been kind of like a cool full circle moment. So I like to say I've lived a couple lives as a vet. There's a lot of vets who work on dogs and cats who used to work on horses and other large animals. And a lot of them have made that shift. And it does make me sad about the vet field because I wish more people could stay in large animal medicine. And I know that my colleagues who work in equine and large animal medicine are trying to make it better for the people that are there so that they'll stay. So I'm hopeful that in the vet field that becomes more practical for people who have families and have kiddos and can't be on call all the time. So that's how I got to where I am now. And it's, been a ride, and you just never know what's going to happen. And so who knows what I'll be doing in 5 years. But Beecham Animal Hospital is a 49-year-old practice where I work now. So it's a very established practice. It's very close to where I live. I love working in my community. Some vets do not want to see their clients at the grocery store. I personally love going to the grocery store and seeing clients everywhere and checking on their dog. So yeah, I love my job. I love this profession. I have people who want to be vets talk to me about that all the time. I hear young people who say they want to be vets, but they get discouraged because they hear about all the bad things about our profession. And I try to encourage them because there's good and bad about every profession. And is it a perfect profession? No. But what I love the most about veterinary medicine, besides the fact that I love seeing animal patients, but also getting to interact with their owners because I do like people too. The vet world is so cool because I always say the world is your oyster when you become a vet. There's so many things you can do, and becoming a veterinarian in and itself is so cool. But I have so many friends who are vets, and I can name 20 different things that friends of mine do as veterinarians. Some have nothing to do with patients. So it's a cool profession. It's only getting better. It's a lot of fun. I love my job, and we need more vets, and I just would encourage anyone who wants to do it to do it, and don't let anyone discourage you from it. And you just talk to me. I'll talk you into doing it. Cooper agrees. So we're not doing burning questions for this episode because I don't have any burning questions from you all about my journey as a vet. But I hope you enjoyed it. This has been another episode of the Dr. Molly Says podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. And if you want to submit a question for our burning question segment in a future episode, you can find the link to do that to text me a question at the top of this show's notes. You can also always send me a DM on my Instagram. And I'll see you next week for another episode of the Dr. Molly Says podcast.